It's another edition of WRAL Triangle and Two. I'm Mark Bergin. He's Pat Welter, the one and only. Pat, football is here. We're going to get into NC State. We're going to get into Duke. I want to start today's episode here. You asked Bill Belichick who his starting quarterback's going to be. The floor is yours. What happened after that?
You know, Bill Belichick is doing this thing. I think maybe he had a meeting with his new head of PR. Like, hey, maybe we were a little bit nicer when we shut down reporters. And I like the strategy because he's turned it into a joke. Like, anytime there's a question he doesn't want to answer, it's become a one-liner. And, he clearly had rehearsed this one in the mirror. He's like, oh, yeah, we're ready to release the depth chart. We're going to get right on that for you. Everybody laughs, and I'm like, fair question, though, Bill. We're about a week until the game. Who is your starting quarterback? Now, I think he knows. I think the team probably knows. He's just playing coy with the media, with TCU, so that they have to prepare for, well, in this case, two left-handed quarterbacks in Max Johnson and Gio Lopez.
That's probably the biggest on-field football question I have about the Tar Heels before their opener when they take on TCU is, I expect to see Gio Lopez, but could we see Max Johnson at all? Is there a world where Bryce Baker plays at all? Because remember, even if he plays 4 games as a freshman, he could still retain his redshirt status. I think Lopez will get first crack, but are the Tar Heels going to do a split system at all? Is it just going to be the Gio Lopez show? And so you asked Bill Belichick about that in the news conference last week, and here we are days away, and we still don't have definitive answers.
And I think, again, like by the time people listen to this, there's press conference tomorrow. He may have named it, but it would be so Bill Belichick to just wait until basically the day of the game or when they're required to release depth charts. Or even that, like if you have a depth chart out, it could just say or. It could say or and or if you want to include Bryce Baker, to your point there. So I do think they know like who the quarterback is, but it's more complicated than it would be normally, right? Like if Max Johnson was the incumbent, you could see a world where it's like, oh, well, they'll go with him to give Gio a little bit of time. Well, it's complicated because Max Johnson's coming off a pretty brutal leg injury that, if I'm going to be honest, I thought might have been career-ending, just seeing the way he was walking around on crutches at the end of last season, wasn't the most mobile guy to begin with. And Gio Lopez coming in here after spring. So neither of these guys are really ready, and neither is the freshman, and they're going up against a team in TCU that has one of the top returning quarterbacks in the country. Tough matchup week 1 here for Bill Belichick's first college game.
Yeah, most books have TCU as a 3.5 point favorite over the Tar Heels. And you mentioned the TCU quarterback. I've got it in my notes here. I got to scroll down. Josh Hoover, nearly 4,000 passing yards a year ago, Pat. So defensively, UNC is going to have, its hands full. And I'm going to say this. Okay, so what's the best way to combat experience offensively? For me, it's establishing your ground game. And that, to get the quarterback going, is going to be important. Something WRAL's Brian Murphy has written about, Pat, is the hole that Omarion Hampton leaves in the backfield. More than 3,000 yards rushing if you combine his production over the course of the last 2 seasons. So who that's going to be is the running back to help, whether it's Gio Lopez, if we do see any of Max Johnson at all. To me, establishing a sound running game, I mean, this isn't flashy at all, but it's ground control, controlling time of possession, and winning the turnover battle, I think is huge for a game where even though you're opening up at home in prime time on national TV, if you could do those 2 things of control time of possession to keep your defense off the field and win the turnover battle, that to me, whichever team does that on Monday night, I think wins the football game.
Yeah, this is going to be Bill Belichick 101. And this is a guy that's gone into games without quarterbacks before, where he's gone into games with a Brian Hoyer starting at quarterback, or when he lost Tom Brady to a season injury. Matt Castle gets that team to 11. It was one of those weird seasons where I think they got to 11 wins, missed the playoffs, just kind of the way the AFC shaped out that year. So he can do it without a lot of parts. And I don't know if they've been managing expectations or just playing coy with us all offseason, because we just know so little about what they have. We know so little about what they think they have. Like, all Belichick does in each press conference is like, oh, we're improving. Guys are getting better. That's just all we can do is take it day by day. And, like, that might be true. But, like, I just want to know. Like, I was talking to, like, you think about the Jordon Hudson story, right? Like, she was at practice last week. I got a shot of her. And, like, should that be a story? Maybe not. You could debate. But it is a story because we know so little else. So, like, we don't know who the quarterback is. We go to practice. We see so little. So it's like, let me just get a shot of her because that's at least something I have. And, like, this team with 70 new players that, like, they're skill players. They're top-returning skill players. Davion Goss, who, to your point about Omarion Hampton, only rushed for 326 yards last season because they just didn't take Hampton off the field. Kobe Paysour, their leading receiver, with 365 yards. I feel pretty confident to say that Kobe Paysour is not going to be this year's team's leading receiver. Davion Goss, I think, will be the lead running back going in. But like we know nothing about this team. 70 new players. Like, it's unheard of. Like, they're ranked number 9 in transfer classes. I think that's just because of the volume of people they brought in, not necessarily the talent level.
Yeah, Charleston French in the backfield. Caleb Hood is all players we could see at the running back position take on that burden left behind by Omarion Hampton. You mentioned all the new players, 70. I think back to what happened with this TCU team 2 years ago, coached by Sonny Dykes, when they took on Colorado in the season opener. Coming off a playoff appearance and everything
National
two
title
years ago.
appearance.
Yes. And Colorado upset them. So I think this time around, TCU is going to be prepared on Monday night because they've undergone a similar circumstance where there's not a lot of tape. We don't really know what to expect with UNC. And so I fully expect this TCU team to come prepared Monday night. And I think there's a reason why not only are they favored, but man, the odds makers, they always win in Vegas. They are just screaming for action in this game because, again, the big X factor of what we don't know, Bill Belichick, perhaps the greatest coach of all time, how he performs in his collegiate coaching debut. It's the reason why it's on primetime. That story writes itself.
And it's going to be a massive overreaction either way.
After one game. Yeah.
Massive. Like, we're talking about this is the end of the opening weekend. It's an island game. It's going to be like UNC's already talked about. They are loaded with credential requests. They are turning people away. They're looking for standing room only for the amount of media that's going to be there.
Wow.
And you're talking about, like, Bill Belichick's teams are known for how they finish, not for how they start. Like, he's famous for, like, not really caring that much about what his NFL teams looked like in September, even to the point where, like, they'd almost like make sacrificial plays early in the season to put something out on tape so that later down the road in a game with much more high leverage, with much more high stakes, they could go against that kind of what's the word? Kind of like that tendency. The strategy, and putting it on tape so a team can game plan for it. I'm with you. But Belichick's among the best to be able to do that, to your point. And TCU, like, we are sleeping on TCU. Like, in the national title game 2 years ago, like a true, like, kind of Cinderella story of the playoff era of like what you can do, at least in a 1 year sample. They go to the title game, they got absolutely smoked by Georgia. Yeah. Like, I don't think a team with that level of talent can necessarily win the national title, but we've seen that they could get there. And yeah, they go 5-7 in 2023. TCU was 9-4 last year, 6-1 down the stretch, and they bring back a 3-year starter at quarterback. Like, this team is going to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm just ready and kind of putting that take out there now that, like, I think UNC is very likely to lose this game. I think there's a chance that they could lose potentially badly. And I'm not going to necessarily judge the team for week 1.
I'm with you with the overreaction of the 1 game sample size. In the NFL, they always say the overreaction Monday. After that first week where it's like, oh, this team's bound for a conference championship, this team's in the gutter. Every team either starts 1-0, 0-1. And so you mentioned that. You mentioned, Pat, the Jordon Hudson part of this too. I'm curious where she's at on the field.
Right.
I'm curious about how much of the broadcast, if any, focuses on her, whether she's on the sidelines, in a box, what type of storyline that creates on Monday night too. We could talk about the on-field of the running game, or UNC needs to improve its defense this year, but that's something where, just given all of the headlines that generated after their CBS Sunday morning interview, that's something absolutely I'm looking at come Monday night.
Yeah, like, are they going to have like a pre-produced graphic that's like animated Bill and Jordon, and they like make the like sandcastle like gymnastics pose that they did on the beach and reenact it, and then like have like a series of drop-down stats come down beneath it? Like, I don't know. Like, anything like that seems on the table. I think you have to address it a little bit. Like, you have to address like the saga that was. Like, what has happened since December is wild. There was a real point here where the Jordon Hudson stuff was peaking, where it was like, is he going to actually coach a game? Like, is UNC going to have to like cut bait because this has become so untenable and like kind of like a punchline? But like, UNC had already invested too much. Like, to use like a poker term, they were pot committed. Like, they couldn't cut ties with Bill. As crazy as it was, like, he could have walked away. Like, there was that thing about his contract where like he had like that buyout. He's gotten here. He's gotten to week 1, which even that like seems like something we didn't even know we would get.
To clarify for listeners and viewers what Pat's talking about in terms of the contract, as soon as we got to June 1,
that's what it was,
Belichick's buyout went from $10 million to $1 million. So at that point, it's like he could hit. I mean, at any point, he could say, hey, this just isn't for me, and decide to walk away. He'd owe $1 million to be able to do that. But as soon as you hit that June 1 threshold, it's just like, to be able to get a coach like Bill Belichick, UNC has to make that deal. If you want to bring him in for him to be your head coach, we're to week 1.
He's here.
He'll be here for at least one game, Pat. I mentioned the defense. I expect that to be improved. Anything else when it comes to UNC TCU before we move on to NC State and ECU Military Bowl rematch?
I'm interested in the quarterback. I'm interested in the defense. I'm interested to see the personality of the team. I think it's going to look a lot different than Mac Brown. I don't think it's going to be flashy. I think it's going to be ball control. I think they're going to try to make it low scoring. The total is 58.5. I'd be looking at that under. I'd probably also be looking at laying TCU as well. But I think, I said there's a blowout's on the table, but I think knowing how Bill Belichick coaches, they're going to try to keep this one as close and as ugly as they can.
Yeah, and I still don't fully know what to expect because we know the style of how he coaches in the NFL, but in college, who knows? Okay, so that's Monday night. Thursday, we've got 2 games, and we'll start with NC State hosting ECU Military Bowl rematch. Dave Doeren going into year 13 as head coach of the Wolfpack. CJ Bailey entering his sophomore year as well. And Pat, I wanted to start here because we talked a lot about what to expect for this game. I couldn't find anything substantiated about this, but I noticed that the line moved 3 points yesterday. So we're recording this on Tuesday. And you can look on Twitter. There are some unsubstantiated reports out there, and I'll leave it at that because I'm still trying to figure out what's what of the line moved now. NC State, most books have it. The Wolfpack is a 14-point favorite. Right. They opened at 11.5, so there's a 3-point swing at the start of this week, and I'm trying to figure out the reasoning as to why that happened.
I think it could be a couple things. Like, I know Dave Doeren announced today that there's going to be a couple guys out for the first half from the ejections from the Military Bowl. Now, I don't know who's out for ECU at this point in time because that just came out as I was like driving in here today. But anyone listening, quick Google search, you'll have it. So could it be that? Could it be like key players out? I think it's also like 11.5 is a dead zone. So like for it to like run up to 14, which is like a key number, right? Like games often fall on touchdown, field goal numbers. So like if there was some movement, it doesn't take much to kind of just steam it all the way up there, and then it like halts at 14, and then like the betting pros out there probably like bet it back a little bit. They see the value on ECU at 14, and like unless there's like massive significant injuries on the ECU side, I mean this seems like a value to me with ECU because they won the last game in the series a couple years ago in Greenville. They should have won. They lost because they missed the game-winning field goal, 21-20. And then, the last 2 matchups decided by 5 points or less. The series all time is 19-14. It's funny, like this rivalry reminds me of like the opposite coin of UNC and NC State. It's like in that rivalry, UNC tries to pretend that they're too good or they're above NC State. And then NC State always has the underdog edge and the mental edge. Well, in this series, at least recently, ECU's the one that feels like they're disrespected. NC State feels like they're maybe a little bit above this, and the results have played out on the field where ECU is come to play.
Yeah, Yannick Smith, who's a receiver for ECU, is one of the players involved in that brawl in the Military Bowl. Tamarcus Cooley's gone from NC State. He has since transferred. But ECU's got some pretty good receivers, Pat. In Yannick Smith, they've got Anthony Smith, and then Jaquez Petaway as well.
From Oklahoma.
Yes, the Oklahoma transfer. So NC State defensively is going to have its hands full. Blake Harrell, ECU's head coach, first full year to where he's the permanent coach. He was the interim, appointed as the interim about midway through last season. They finished, 5-1 down the stretch. And
made a QB switch.
And here we are, as a rematch of sorts, if you will, from the Military Bowl. And after that huge brawl, which that kind of overtook of who won and lost the game, but several players being ejected in that one too. So I think it's getting a little bit chippy. It's interesting to me that you called it a rivalry, because if I talk to an NC State fan, I mean, like, what do you mean, the ECU rival? But I think it's interesting you call it a rivalry, Pat.
It's the same thing. Like UNC tries to look at it not as a rivalry in basketball and in football. And yeah, this is a rivalry. Like, nothing more than to just go through the history of it. They had to suspend the series mark because ECU fans tore down the goalposts at Carter Finley, and Jim Valvano had to step in and be like, we're not playing this anymore. It's not safe. It was so unsafe that they had to resume it on a neutral field in Charlotte almost a decade later. People care about this game so much that there was a bill in the state almost trying to require the two teams to play each other. If that's not a rivalry, I don't know what is.
I love the history. I love the history of this, of bringing back not just what happened a season ago, but what's gone down over the course of years between these two programs. Like I said, I do expect it to get a little bit chippy. I'd be surprised if there were any ejections again or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I remember like one of my takes from this last year, and probably two of my most explosive takes that people hated last year, were that Duke's basketball season was a failure. I stand by that. And that the ECU NC State brawl, I used the word, was beautiful. In the headline, people did not like that. I don't know how many of them read the article, but if you did, my take was that just in our modern landscape of college athletics, where we're seeing conference realignment, or throwing away traditions, rivalries, specifically ones like this between schools that are in different conferences, different levels of conference, kind of becoming a sport of the haves and have-nots.
Yeah, P4, G5, G4. Yeah, I'm
exactly.
with you.
Like, to have people care this much about a game where they're brawling on the field after, like, that to me, in a way, was beautiful. Like, yeah, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. The fact that a ref's eye got cut is terrible. But just that there was so much passion for a bowl game. Again, a tradition that's going by the wayside. The Military Bowl at that, for two teams that had disappointing seasons ultimately, that there was that much passion. That to me is what college football is all about.
Yeah. I'd expect NC State to take care of business, just given they're about a 2-touchdown favorite, but that's why they play them. And again, these storylines write themselves. I'm very excited. I think as CJ Bailey progresses, I think he's going to be, how far he can guide NC State this season. And then, you've got new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator as well. So can you get back to playing that smash mouth style of football of, what to expect when you go up against a Wolfpack defense? So like that to me, like, this is your very first litmus test. And did you learn some of those lessons of what happened in the Military Bowl, getting upset a year ago against, I'll join you, Pat, against a rival? I
mean, like, on paper, like, I would think like ECU should be a very live dog in this situation, if not to cover, than to win, just given kind of like the history of it. But when you've got a whole offseason where Dave Doran has been able to point to this, basically as like a black eye for their university, an embarrassment, something I think he said that they didn't appreciate the privilege of playing at NC State. Like, he has hammered it home. And Dave Doran is really good at hammering home points with his team, showing by the way that they've showed out in rivalry games against UNC, the way they've showed up against Clemson in different accounts the last few seasons. Like, he's good at getting his teams up for big games, and they might have overlooked ECU in the Military Bowl. they sure as heck aren't going to overlook ECU now. So to your point, I think that ECU could certainly cover, but I do think that NC State should win. And if they don't, like I said, I'm not going to overreact to UNC game one. This is an entirely different situation. 13th year for Dave Doran, returning quarterback, and CJ Bailey. Your best skill players on offense are all back.
For the most part.
Most part.
Other than Concepcion, but I'm with you. Other than Casey Concepcion.
Justin Jolie, Noah Rogers, the receivers, some good transfers, Smothers. Like, they have no excuse. So if they don't look good, like, yeah, it's early in the season, but like that would raise a red flag to me.
I'm with you there. Let's go to Duke Elon. Duke, a 33.5-point favorite.
Woo.
And I cannot wait. Mensah Mania is here in Durham. One of the most heralded transfers at quarterback. I hate to say this, but the fan in me, Pat, the fan in me is already looking past this game, and I'm already looking at week 2 of what can Duke do to upset Illinois in week 2, an Illinois team that is ranked in the top 25.
Yeah, and what an opportunity for Duke in the ACC. I know we don't want to like just skip past Elon.
A 33.5-point favorite, you got a TCB, and what is that, Pat? That's take care of business in the opener.
And they will. Like, they won 26-3 last year, Malik Murphy's first game, and in Manny Diaz's first game in Durham. Like, it wasn't necessarily pretty, but yeah, TCB, they took care of business. But like when you schedule a team like Illinois, you don't know what that home and home's ultimately going to like look like. And for them to get them to number 12 in the country coming off the year that they just had, like, that's a program on the rise with some big expectations this year. And Duke is like a team that could be, you beat Illinois week 2, they might be in the top 25. Like, I think they're already knocking on the door coming off a 9-4 season. They're certainly on my radar. I think they're on everybody in the Triangle's radar. Nationally, I don't think they are, but they should be. And I think they will. Like, I'm hyped for Duke this year. I think they can and most likely will be the best team in the Triangle. Does that mean they're going to generate like a ton of attention and fan interest locally? Still an uphill battle, but like Manny Diaz is building something here, and whether he wants to leave for another program or if he actually wants to stay and keep this thing going is an interesting big picture topic to me. But I really like this team. I think they have some of the best players in the conference. Chandler Rivers, Mensah, Wesley Williams, and they've kind of restocked the offensive skill players as well. So I really like Duke.
It starts in the opener against Elon. We'll see what happens in week 2 against a ranked Illinois team. I think you hit the nail on the head with big picture standpoint about Diaz's future of he has another 9-win season. If I'm in another program that needs a head coach, of what happened with Mike Elko and Texas A&M. There were rumblings about it. Is it going to happen? It's not going to happen. And it ended up happening. It was like It was a seesaw. When
hard to turn a job like that down
for the money alone.
Yeah,
for the money alone. So that and the opportunity to coach the SEC, fine. But if Duke is even just repeats what if the Blue Devils repeat what they did a season ago, it's going to be tough to say if you're a program that's down on its luck to where we got to look around someone who has coaching success, okay, not just in Durham, but has experience as a head coach at Miami, has experience as a defensive coordinator at a number of other schools.
Yep.
He's right there. So that is something to monitor this year. If Duke even repeats what they did a year ago.
I'll throw out some programs right now, and I hate to do this to Duke fans. Like, you're already got my coach leaving.
We haven't even played a game yet.
But, like, think about it, right? Like, Oklahoma, how's things going there? USC, how are things going there? University of Florida, Florida State, Miami, all of the Florida teams.
Okay, I'm gonna poo-poo Miami there, Pat, but I'm with you in terms of just because he's already been there before.
But that's where he's from. I mean, that'd be a really interesting story. But, like, the seat's getting hot on Cristobal. So that's just a few big-name programs off the top of my head.
And so what that would do as well is, remember, I do think it's worth mentioning Miami and the teams that could be looking for a head coach in a year of, okay, maybe Miami gets its selection for a coach, and that takes away from
domino effect. Yep.
Correct. It takes away from one of those other schools looking for a head coach. I love how we're talking about this.
Yeah.
And we haven't even played a single snap of the 2025 season. I love it.
I want to get into something else about this year's Duke team and why I think they can repeat then. Just to kind of get back on the rails, because we have gone off them as far as like picking Manny Diaz's next house in Tallahassee. One of the criticisms you could say about Duke from last year was the one-score games. 6-1 in one-score games. I think, what's the term? Like, this is a feature, not a bug. I don't even actually know what that means, but I think it applies here. We're like, this wasn't like a luck. This wasn't a coin flip. This wasn't like something that's necessarily going to regress. This was a character trait. This was a coaching philosophy in how they coached the games, how they ran the games. It's something that Mac Brown did terribly, win one-score games. And Diaz was great at it. And some of it's like, he was like, is it luck when our running back against UConn stops at the 1-yard line to allow us to then run out the clock, which is analytically the correct decision? That was a situation we coached up ahead of time. Is that luck or is that coaching? It's a perfect example. And I think a lot of it speaks, and that's just one example, but I think on the whole, just the way they run their offense, the way they don't turn the ball over, it just lends itself to them performing well in one-score games, and I think it's going to continue. And when I look at a win total of 6.5 for them on the season, their schedule is tough. They got to play a ranked Illinois team. They got to play Clemson. They got to play UNC. But, I'm taking the over there all day.
I'm with you with the over. Let me go glass half empty.
Okay.
In terms of the one-score games. I wonder, when do you regress back to the mean of 6-1, if that's how you're coached, if that's your 3.2 yards per carry. If I just look at the stats as a team, if you want to continue to win those one-score games, that rushing total needs to that rushing total needs to improve. So I think you could get that. Jaquez Moore should finally be healthy in the backfield, Pat. But if I could go glass half empty for what you're saying, that's the argument that I'd make.
Oh, sure. And it's not a slam dunk argument for sure. And I guess like ultimately that's where the math guys will be like, see, like they're probably going to go like 4-3 in one-score games. It's like, okay, fine, you win. But like, I guess like some more question marks I had would probably be like the skill players. Like I love the defense. When you bring back Chandler Rivers, when you bring back Wesley Williams, like they've got dudes on that side of the ball. But offensively, Jordan Moore, gone. Quarterback turned receiver that became an absolute stud for them.
NFL player, too.
Yeah, great guy, smart guy. It was awesome to cover. Star Thomas, their big transfer running back who stepped in for Jaquez Moore last season, he's gone. So Cooper Barkate, like that's the name to watch. Harvard receiver, like that's who I'm hearing a ton of buzz of out of camp. They also have an Oklahoma transfer at receiver. So I just don't know. I just don't know how well those guys are going to gel with the new quarterback as well. Like, Mensah couldn't be getting much more hype for a Duke quarterback, but like he has like one good season on his belt here at Tulane. Like he's stepping up in competition here in a big way. So like to pencil him in as a Heisman candidate seems like a little bit cart before the horse.
I think he can't throw the ball to himself, Pat.
Yeah.
Is for as much money he is getting. Again, 2 years, a reported $8 million as well. So there's a lot of attention on him at the quarterback position because this was one of the most coveted transfers in all of college football.
Yeah, and if he has the year that he's hoping to have, then they're hoping he has, like he could be on the move again. I know there's a quote-unquote contract that you just mentioned, but like he seems like a guy that could be like at Alabama in a year. But, Diaz talks about this a lot this offseason. Like it's not as much about bringing in players as it is about retaining them. And I've made this point each time we've done a podcast, like they thought that they could do better at quarterback potentially than Malik Murphy, and they look at this as an upgrade. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like. And you talk about the raw yards per carry, getting a more mobile quarterback in like Mensah, I think could help the run game on the whole. Not just him running the ball, but just like the threat of him running it could open up other holes for other backs.
That starts against Elon, and again, I'm curious if any of the players are saying we're not worried about Elon. We're already looking ahead to Illinois as well. So. Not to shortchange Elon, but when you're almost a 5-touchdown favorite nearly, I'd expect you to again TCB, and that's take care of business when it comes to the Duke Blue Devils. Anything else, Pat, that you want to bring up with regards to Duke or any of the triangle teams we've discussed here today?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a bet-on team early in the season. Like they're just not a team that like resonates nationally. Even ESPN projects them to finish 6th in the ACC. I mentioned the win total, like. I just think this team's going to be good, and people aren't watching them. Like, they're going to be on a Thursday night versus Elon. Like, yeah, it's great to be playing on Thursday. People still aren't really necessarily going to be watching that game. It's going to take a while for, like, Duke to permeate the consciousness.
Going up against knowing that NC State has a game that same night as well. It also, here in the Triangle, so NC State will be in Raleigh, Duke will be in Durham. Tough going up against a team where there's more people. There's more people.
It is what it is. Like they're growing. Duke knows that they need to invest in football, and they have. And like if Manny Diaz has the season that we think that he could have, like they're gonna do their darndest to keep him. Like because they know and basketball isn't enough anymore. In the conference realignment landscape, like football brings in the revenue, and like you can't just be a basketball school.
Follow the money. Before we get out of here, Pat, any other games opening week that you're looking at? Because we have an absolutely loaded week 1 of college football.
Yeah, and I would tell the people out there, tread lightly. It's a long weekend. For any of the people out there just that want to watch all weekend, that want to eat all weekend, that want to imbibe in some beverages of choice, that want to gamble, pace yourself on all of the above. Because I've had some weekends like this, and there's some select weekends throughout the year, Mark. You talk about opening weekend of college football. You talk about the opening weekend of NFL football, which is going to begin on a Thursday. The first weekend of the NCAA tournament. The wild card weekend, where like things could go spectacularly well for you. You could be on cloud 9 if you're picking everything right, if you're betting, if you're winning money, your fantasy team's killing it. But if you're not hitting, you can go on tilt, and it could be a dark, dark place.
All right,
I'll continue.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Like my wife came home one time. I think it was an NFL weekend, and she was away for the weekend visiting some friends, and she found me on the couch, like zonked, and I was awake, but I didn't want to have to face her when she came in the door because this is before I was even a journalist. I had done so poorly on my picks that weekend that I couldn't even face her, and she saw me there and like tried to shake me to wake up. I didn't wake up because I didn't want to talk to her. Then she thought I was dead. She's like, oh, he must be. My wife, 0 to 60 at a heart rate. No, honey, I wasn't dead. I just felt dead inside because I did so poorly on such an important weekend.
His carcass got off the couch. He's here in the flesh. He is the one and only Pat Welter. I can't wait for that Texas-Ohio State game.
Oh, yeah.
Noon, Fox. Number 1 versus number 3. Arch Manning. Ohio State coming off on a national championship. Man, it's not willing to wish my life away, but get me there on Saturday, Pat, because I cannot wait.
What a tough test for Arch Manning's first game. Like I was checking all these openers, like, okay, are they neutral site? Are they in like a nearby NFL stadium that's kind of neutral site? Like, no, that one's at the Horseshoe. Like that one's on campus at Ohio State. Really interesting matchup. Like this is the year for Texas, right? Like they've been building towards this. They're replacing a lot of people. So is Ohio State, but they're so talented that they just like become AP top 5. In the case of Texas, number 1 overall. But you don't really know until you know, and that's going to be a really cool measuring stick. I think probably my top game on the board, full disclosure, I am a Notre Dame fan. A lot of family went there. Dad went there, sister, brother, grandfather. I did not go there because I a little bit too much fun in college and in high school, and here I am talking sports, but I think it all worked out for the best. But yeah, like Notre Dame, Miami, right? Like, so this game is huge for the ACC. If the ACC wants like the tides rise all ships, like they need Miami to be good. Like you can't like have Miami get blown out in this game and then fall out of the top 25, and then it becomes like the same thing we see in college basketball where like the results are it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So like I think Notre Dame's gonna be really good. I would probably be betting Notre Dame here. I'm not in on Carson Beck. Like I'm out on Miami, but like for the sake of the conference, they need that one. So that one's for me. You got any others?
Yeah, Miami. That one you mentioned the ACC, LSU, Clemson. LSU's dropped several consecutive openers. Clemson, Cade Klubnik coming back. Klubnik coming back for the Clemson Tigers. One of the more experienced quarterbacks in all of college football, and you talk about getting the ACC back to supremacy. When they've been best of the best in football, it's been when Clemson's been the top dog. So
yeah, I mean this is their year, right? It's like Dabo like seems to have come around on modern college football, kicking and screaming, mind you. But like this team is loaded. Like he's got potentially 2 like top 10 picks on defense. He's got a quarterback that could be highly drafted. They've got it all. Like their skill players have been like a little bit down in the last few years. So I'm interested to see if they have more of that kind of like SEC level talent. And then on the LSU side, like Brian Kelly, like talk about like being likable goes a long way. And this guy is 10-4, 10-3, and 9-4 at LSU, and like he feels like talk about jobs that are about to be open. Like he's on the hot seat if he's 9-4 again. Like he might be out the door.
Yeah, coming off that Orgeron though too, of you go from the mountaintop of a national championship that 2019 season with Joe Burrow and company to where you're at now, to where what a luxury that would be for us here in the Triangle, saying a 10-win season isn't good enough, Pat.
I know.
Give us a taste. Yeah. Give us a taste.
That's our basketball standard. Like CC Hubert Davis, like when making the national championship isn't enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be going Clemson there. Like I'm done picking Brian Kelly in openers. I'll read the last three. Lost to USC 27-20. USC was not that good. Lost to Florida State 45-24. Lost to Florida State 24-23. So yeah, Clemson all day.
I love it. I love it. He's Pat Welter. I'm Mark Bergin. If you haven't already on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button here on the WRAL YouTube channel. Pat, thank you so much for your time and looking forward to your coverage all college football season long.
Hydrate and pace yourself, people. It's a long season.
Marathon, not a sprint. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care, everybody.